Today we're going to talk about the middle class prior to the French Revolution, and we want to do this so we can understand how they influenced the French Revolution, as well as how their grievances contributed to the beginning of the revolution itself. So when we talked about Voltaire, an important thing to know about his family is that they weren't really what we would think of as nobility. Voltaire's father was very educated, but he worked as a public official. He was part, of the third estate of the common people, but he was a skilled worker who used his education and training in order to make money. This brought him more wealth than it would have if he had just been a farmer working out in the countryside, and it made him part of the bourgeoisie, or in English, what we would call the middle class. So, who were these bourgeoisie? Well, the bourgeoisie lived in towns and cities, and they made their money through their trades, professions, and or businesses. They're well educated, and that meant that many of the bourgeoisie were aware of political shifts in Britain, who had had a constitutional monarchy for quite a while, and America with the American War of Independence and their democratic revolution that followed. The bourgeoisie had a combination of moderate to sometimes extreme wealth with that level of education that made them aware of what else was going on in the world. So this could be people like shop owners. It could also be artisans creating fine art, but it could also be people like lawyers and doctors who today still command quite high wages, and because they were highly trained, they didn't get quite as much money back in the 18th century France, but they were still well regarded and well paid. And in fact, some of these wealthier bourgeoisie actually had more money than members of the second estate, of the nobility, because they had been adapting and changing with the times. So their level of education allowed them to both develop new ideas as well as spread both new and old ideas about liberty and nationality during the French Revolution. But before the French Revolution, because they were members of the common class of the Third Estate, they were excluded from power and political decision making, despite both being wealthy and educated.